For today's video, we have I'll discuss the lessons that I've learned in Supercoach 2021. In 2021. So we printed them off. So I have about 7 things here. So for me personally, I didn't have the greatest year in terms of trading, and I liked a bit of discipline here and there. But for the most part, I did pick up a few new things. Some things here I already knew, but I needed to be reinforced. But it's just so easy to get carried away in this game when, early in the year you're dealing with a small sample and it's just stuff like that. You just got to be a bit level-headed, be a bit more measured. But for the most part, I learned quite a few interesting things, and I'll definitely need to reference these in the preseason for my own sake. So lesson 1 that I learned, it was in the preseason. I've got here the new rules. Like, don't put too much thought into new rules. So at the start of the year, we were thinking, the game's opened up. Key forwards could potentially be... Tom Hawkins is an outlier just because of the way he's scoring avenues, but for the most part, key forwards just pretty much never work. But we were thinking maybe key forwards are going to work this year. I still didn't have the balls to pick them, but you could see that Taylor Walker, for example, was going off. And also the defenders. So historically, the preseason is more uncontested just because it's preseason games. It's a lot less pressure. So I was thinking that the new man of the mark rules, the defenders getting so many handball receives and using the certain players distributing more often, it was almost at the point where defenders could get close to midfielders here. It just hasn't been the case. If anything, we've seen maybe not a drop off, but no defenders have gone 110 plus this year. So I think, I was stressing over, I got to pick all these defenders this year, cutting midfielders in. And lucky there was one Dogs game where Dunkley, Bont and McRae all went about 400, 500 between him or something ridiculous. Lever and Baz as well went berserk that game. So, I think coming into the season, you have to remember this preseason was a bit more uncontested than previous preseasons, which kind of made it a bit tricky, but I don't really want to move mountains in my team because of new rules. So did the new rules, the man on the mark rule, the extra kick out, did it really have a huge effect on players? A little bit for kick out takers, but it's almost been negligible really. It's just it barely made a difference to how I should have thought about my starting team, I think. So definitely not, for example, for my sake, I picked Daniel and Short specifically. I favoured them over the other players. Even, Stewart was a 105, 106 average last year without injury. Short and Daniel were lower than that. But because of the new rules, I favoured Short and Daniel. When really, Stewart is still that 106 average player. And then, Short's still that 95 player. And Daniel, he kind of lost his role for a bit. So it's a little bit different. But they would have probably, if he had his role, probably would have averaged the same. So, that's the first one. So number 1. Number 2 I have here, and this is one that everyone knows, but for me, I've always kind of skimped on this a bit, but really need to knuckle down on players who are top 6 and top 8 in their position. So, I went for Brayshaw early, which worked out okay, but what happened was when I needed to get in the other big dogs, I was always priced out of them, and just the way things worked out, I had to go for another cheaper player, like a Josh Kelly at 570, rather than pay 600 plus for a midfielder. So really need to give that a little bit more thought. So be a bit stricter on that, because in the back half of the season it is hurting it at the moment. Although it did get me a good early advantage. I'm not sure, just because of the standards, for example, of the midfielders especially. We got 8 guys going nearly 120 plus this year, something like that. It's added up more than in previous years. So need to knuckle down on ensuring when we make trade-ins of premiums, they are top 6 or top 8. The third rule I have here is hold capable rookies, or just hold rookies in general, because I traded far too many rookies far too often, and it just didn't work out. I got a bit of FOMO with certain rookies, even after a price rise, but for the most part, even if you, for example, if you do trade trade a rookie out for another rookie, whether it works or doesn't work, it's a win or a loss, or maybe an even. But if you don't do the trade, you always get some sort of a win because you have the extra trade. So there's always, it does depend on the rookie, but, I traded James Jordan to Heath Chapman. Their break-evens were almost, I think, 80 points apart in favour of Chapman, and that was an absolute catastrophe. So, yeah, even like, for example, traded Bergman early, traded Cozzy early. When we knew in the preseason they showed they were capable, despite getting omitted early on in the season. So, just hold your nerve on rookies, and don't get too much fear of missing out, because even if you do miss out on them, you've still got that trade sitting there for later in the year. So you've actually got something to show for it. You'll definitely have something to show for it, even if you didn't go for that rookie, if that makes sense. Because yeah, if you do the trade and it goes pear-shaped, you've lost the trade and you've got nothing basically. So at least you get some sort of a win. So it's maybe sometimes there are times where you really needed to go for that rookie, but at least you have that trade sitting there for later in the year. And as you can see, with the injuries just piling on in the last third of the year, like non-stop, it's just we needed those trades. So that was very important. So I got to be a bit more disciplined on rookies. So yes, and the next one I have is age. Okay, so I'm obsessed with age bracket a little bit. I think I'm still pretty strict on age in terms of midfielders. I always prefer them between 22-23 and 28-29. Sam Walsh made an exception for, and I did make an exception for Brayshaw, and it probably didn't work for Brayshaw, but for forwards, it's mostly for forwards and defenders, because I think key forwards, you can see there's still a lot of key forwards playing really well in their early 30s. So defenders, I think Shaw was a really good premium at 30-31 or something like that back in the day. So we'll reassess that, be a bit more, it's forwards and defenders, it's a lot less taxing than being a midfielder, where you got to run more. For the most part, you got to run more physical contact. So it'll be interesting with Zeeble and Hall next year, especially Hall, who plays the largely uncontested game. So it's far less taxing than a midfielder's game. So, and also with these, for example, Zorko and Dangerfield, they don't have to go 110 to be good picks in the forward line. They just need to go 95 to 105. Obviously, Danger's much more than that, and Zorko has been more than that as well. But they don't have to. The forward line is always going to be pretty dodgy. So, and same with the defense. There's a lot of defenders that are in that 90 to 105 range. It's not a huge difference. But yeah, they don't fall off as hard, and the expectations are lower in these lines rather than midfielders, where I always prefer, they need to be somewhere in their prime. And at the era that we're in, they need to go 120 plus, 115 plus. So the next one, I think we're on the fifth one. So this one I've preached for a long time, but for some reason I forgot it, and I almost traded in Isaac Heaney. This is pretty simple. Number 5, do not trade in injured players. It's not worth it. It doesn't matter what the reasoning is, just don't bother. It just never works. We've seen it, Nat Fyfe did it, popped his shoulder, looked okay for 4 weeks, popped it again, played again next week, popped it again. Isaac Heaney saw ankle, had multiple ankle injuries throughout the year. Can't think of who else. Roland Marshall, again, early in the year. I didn't consider Marshall because this is when I was saying don't trade injured players, but then all of a sudden, when you really need someone at a price such as Isaac Heaney was 390, 400k or 350k, then you try and mount an argument for it. It could work. You might miss a game here and there, but for the most part, it's too risky. Heaney's been up and down all year, but you just don't know if he's going to pull up fit or not. Do not even consider trading in injured players. I think that would be a better one. So that's number 5. Number 6, so a goal for next year for me, save 5 trades minimum by round 6. Pretty simple. I don't care how it is. I don't care how it's done. Sometimes you might have to give up possibly a great opportunity for this, but I think I only saved 2 trades this year. And it's interesting, last year I made a conscious effort to save 4 trades by that stage, and I did. And it paid off really well, even though we had those extra trades. Actually, it might have been the year before, I can't remember. It was 2 years ago. Last year we got the 5 extra in round 2. The year before, I remember I made a conscious effort to save 4 trades, and we did. And it helped us climb the ranks really well. I think we finished top 500 from a really, really bad starting position. So I think we had a lot of injuries that year as well, but banking those trades went a long way. So this year, 2, no, 3, no, even 4, not sure. Save 5 trades by upgrade season in round 6. It just has to be done. And this is the final one. No, this is 6. I think we're on. I think I've got 8 here. Anyway, number 6. Or is it number 7? I don't know. Anyway, so the next one is just coming to the season. Just relax and don't panic. Try and figure out if a player is actually. So it's number 7. So try and figure out if a player is overperforming or not. For example, Ridley was overperforming, but at the same time he was getting all these kickouts, so you didn't really know if he was going to hold those kickouts down. But I panicked. I nearly brought him in, didn't bring him in. Eventually, it didn't work out once Heppel stepped up a little bit. But I think just relax and see the long picture. I played for early game this year when I really should have played for the long game. So maybe next year I won't be super concerned with my rank before the bye rounds. Just, want to be thereabouts around 1K or something would be nice. So obviously good to be more than that, but you want to prime yourself to be in a great position. It's probably like 300-400 rank, somewhere around there. Something like that anyway. So just need to relax more, not be so tense in the preseason. Oh, you got to pick this, you got to do that, and you can't. People were telling me this, and I was like, no, you can't do that. I need to just relax a little bit more and just see the bigger picture, and try and get the best team as possible by the end of the bye rounds, rather than panic early on and then use too many trades and stuff like that. So I think definitely just need to relax a little bit more. So to recap. The lessons that I learned this year was, number 1, don't worry about the new rules too much if there's new rules in the preseason. Number 2, make sure you think really hard about players, whether they'll be top 6 or top 8 in their position. Number 3, hold your rookies if they're capable. Number 4, age is less of a factor for defenders and forwards. Standards are lower. Number 5, don't trade in injured players. Number 6, save 5 trades minimum by round 6, which is upgrade season. And the final one is just relax a bit more, play for the long game, and try not to panic. So anyway, hopefully you guys can take something out of this video. I certainly will. And that's the video for today. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys soon.